Hey, Dave from cheapwinefinder.com with another wine review we put on the cheapwinefinder.com website. 11 years and going strong. And today we have a wine. Let me grab the bottle. It's the Lange Twins Estate Old Vine Zinfandel from Lodi. Lists for $15 and I found it for $12.99. So this is not an expensive wine, and it's an estate wine. They own several vineyards, but they own them. It's all theirs in the Lodi appellation, which is the Central Valley. You know, most wine comes from the coast, Central Coast, North Coast. Lodi, Clarksburg are a little bit of different. They're in the river valleys that go to the San Pablo Bay, which is the northern part of the San Francisco Bay. And this is a fairly well-priced wine. It's a state wine, not single vineyard or anything, but state vine. The Lange twins are actually identical twins. They're fourth generation. Family started farming in Lodi in the 1870s and then bought their first vineyard in the 1916, I think, which is not that unusual. If you look into some of these big name Lodi wineries, they go back 100, 150 years on a fairly regular basis. And while there are wineries and other appellations that have that have long histories, you know, it's Lodi, it's everywhere. And and why is Old Vines any good? And there's a wine axiom. Wine grapes have to struggle to become complex. And the best vineyards in the world are some of the worst land. It has almost no nutrients, rock strewn, no moisture. I mean, just enough for the grapes to survive and thrive. Well, old vines, since they're old and on their own without having any of the conditions around them, struggle. So you kind of get a grapevine that is doing what you want it to do, kind of dependent from where what the agriculture, what the land is around it. So old vines are kind of like highly sought after. And a lot of these Lodi old vines are from planted before Prohibition, and they made communion wines. Catholic Church went through oceans of communion wines during Prohibition, and it kept them going. And then the White Zinfandel craze of the 60s, they planted Zinfandel everywhere in Lodi just to keep up the craze. And those vineyards, which were so back in the day, are 60, 70-year-old vineyards that are kind of little jewels. So how is the Lange Twins estate? It's really good. One thing I kind of like about Lodi, and that's not to say their Zinfandels are the same, but there tends to be a bit of a local resemblance where they're kind of half classy, half rustic. They kind of meet in the middle, and I really like that style. There's some really high-end Sonoma Zinfandels, Napa Zinfandels, Paso Robles Zinfandels that tend to be more classy. And I like it when you get this rougher edge to the, not a lot of rough edges, but just a little bit. And that's my favorite, and they tend to be less expensive on top of it. And there's a lot of great Zinfandel producers in California. I mean, some really great Zinfandel producers in California. But Lodi does it for me. I mean, the price is usually right. I'm going to take a sip. They tend to be less expensive. I mean, here I get a single vineyard, single AVA, estate, multi-vineyard wine for $13. You don't really find that with some of the bigger producers. Their wines are far more expensive. So not only is it a style that I like, it tends to be cheaper. And we are cheapwinefinder.com. So there you go. So Lange Twins, Old Vine, Zinfandel Lodi 2017. Yeah, it's good, real good. If you find it, grab it. It's worth the effort to try it. And like I said, it's one of those wines where I think the cheaper versions of it, to my taste, I prefer to the more expensive. So there you go. Keep it cheap. Adios. Over and out, and I'll talk to y'all later.